sustainable buildings, that talked about, Rajya, talked about liberation, talked about self-reliance, most important, self-reliance. And that is what I mean by mud is available everywhere. Probably parts of Karnataka, parts of Maharashtra, parts of Andhra Pradesh, parts of Odisha. I know that you have black cotton soil, which is not really good for construction per se, especially not good for making mud blocks, because the engineering properties are so different. Engineering property, the way they expand, the way they contract, the way they react to situations whenever it gets loaded is different. So that is something. But even that kind of strata can be overcome by. I mean, I think I'll get some little time to go into that. So available is very important. That affects one, sensitivity. That affects energy efficiency. That affects the cost of the building that you're doing. I mean, we need cost efficient, we need eco-sensitive, and we need energy efficient. We need sustainable buildings to talk about. There is no option now. COVID times have very clearly indicated that there's no other option for humanity but to go in for sustainable buildings. Sustainable has got to be the mantra for Indians, third world countries, and availability of material in your homestead is a huge criterion, because whenever I build mud buildings, and most of the time I build with earth that I get out of the ground. I'm sure you will have plenty of questions asked about availability, quantum and things like that. I try to answer them within the permitted the limits of my knowledge. Cost, it's basically, if you take it from your own this thing, it's a no cost material because we are availing from your own side. And I'll tell you very interesting with methods. I mean, ways to cut down on cost by taking mud from this thing and not really manipulating, diluting the profile. Not making the whole land look degraded. It's your perception as an architect, attitude as an architect, perception of architect is going to be the critical criteria. So cost is zero. I would say it's zero. Then it's about local. We don't have to get people from outside. We don't have to import technologies from Western countries. We are the best masons in the world. I'm telling you with such conviction that we have the best human resource base in the world, talking about masonry skills, building technologies, because I belong to a place where I rate the technologies, the skills as the best in the world, because I work in different domains. I work in Africa, I work in various parts of Europe, I work in Africa, various parts of Asia. I'm telling you, this is something that I want to put it on record, reiterate my statement. We have the best of skills as far as local technologies are concerned. It's about skills. We need to look at local skills first. Pandemics have reduced the transportation, this thing, and it's limited. And if we have people, around the building site, then it'll be better. It's got a huge economic parameter also. I mean, young architects should listen to this. This sector is maximum employment opportunities in the world. I'm telling you again, the country, especially in India, it gives maximum employment opportunity. We need employment. The poverty of the country can be addressed only if we give employment. I never go in for, sometimes, most of the times, I go in for labor-intensive processes and things like that, because we need to feed the common man. I mean, mechanization in a big way. We can discuss about that. I'm an oldie, so you may have a different opinion about that, and that is about local availability. Aesthetic, this is what I told you in the beginning. I mean, unless your product is beautiful to look at, it should feel good, it should look good, the creativity, the innovation, everything should be portrayed. At the end of the day, when people comes to this building, they should be mesmerized. Can I use that word? Mesmerized. It should have a magical quality. And I'm telling you, touching my heart, no other material like mud, which will give you that kind of an aesthetic, very, 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 very beautiful. You look at the texture, you look at the feel of the material, you look at the experience part of it, the color, the smell, etc., are very intoxicating. And with mud, since it's a very versatile material, you can build shapes, you can go into any forms, and that's about the aesthetics part of it. So energy, every material during the production process. That's why I am completely against the usage of steel and cement, because it uses a lot of energy during the production process. Whereas can you get a material like mud there in the homestead with the lowest energy material, when you really look at it that way? Is somebody, I should mute themselves, because otherwise it's disturbing the talk. That is one thing. And most eco-friendly because you're not going through processes. Very important. You're not going through process. I had been building thousands of houses with burnt brick, but later I realized, Laurie Baker also realized at the end of the fag end of the career, but I also realized it along with him. Brick is not really a sustainable material. Brick is not really an eco-sensitive material because it needs burning, and burning means in Kerala, let me very region specific. It means burning a lot of coconut trees. We need coconut trees. It's like an umbrella that protects the earth. And look at the profile of the coconut tree with leaves and all. It's like an umbrella, which are holding over the state. Kerala is a land of coconuts, and so I mean. It also talks about eco-friendliness, and let me tell you, inner strength, because we have tested this strength. There are new technologies coming up, and that I think is quite exciting. And let me go to this thing. So this is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to look at materials, technologies, architectural engineering innovations that should mainstream it. The basic idea of this presentation is to give you some of the young architects ideas about how you could take it forward. We are always available, all this, but we are always available to share the knowledge. Be confident that, I will show you some pictures in the end, which really, whip up your passions and, whip up your perspectives about building technology. Things like that. Later, probably you can look at these buildings. You must have heard of Hassan Fathy, who is actually the progenitor of, what I call a sustainable architect. He built this building in 1940s in Egypt, and this building paved the way for a new wave in sustainable architecture, looking at Islamic architecture, how architecture could be molded to, face of people, and this became a beautiful expression of architecture. But unfortunately, the technology was not foolproof those days. You see another picture down there, and probably made the technology, but 1940s, 50s, they actually failed with technology. It's a lonely journey. Don't criticize Hassan Fathy, because I've also gone through severe stress and thing, because that's a tendency among conventional mainstream architects to criticize these kind of materials. Our job as architects is to overcome these difficulties, overcome these challenges, and make this as a, you can look at this. This is the hot arid space, and this architecture you can easily identify it with tropic arid architecture. But every material they need to be maintained in some ways. Like me, I'm actually going to take IV injection after the presentation, and if I don't take injection, it's going to be serious for me. Because the temperature reading for any building. It suffers some structural damage. You need to develop some methods by which you could reinforce, you could strengthen the building and things like that. Those days, after this, a few years after Hassan Fathy left, there's so much of criticism against New Garna village all over the place. This is new to their perception, new to their attitude, but it was huge legacy. We should always learn from the legacy, traditional knowledge, folklore knowledge, and the game plan will be very clear to you. And look at this. Look at Jaisalmer, mud buildings. Look at this profile. The topography. How mud building really dealt to it was Frank Lloyd Wright who said building should belong to the site. Look at this. Hundreds and thousands of years back, we had the same this thing. It hugged the profile of the land. And such beautiful expressions of land in kind of chrome colors, and it's beautiful. It's what I tell you. It's an image. But when you look at it, you will feel the color is so intoxicating and so beautiful, isn't it? Irony of the whole thing is that 80% of Indian households are presently built with biomass and earth kind of materials. I'm reiterating my statement. You can rip me open if I'm wrong. 80% of Indian families, they live in houses built of biomass material and earth. That's the biggest biomass material when you look at that. 80% of Indian houses, and yet there are no specifications in the building code. Very sad, abominable, not acceptable, and we have been fighting last 25, 30 years. I've been fighting a huge battle to get these specifications in the mainstream, but unfortunately, the people who control the specification make specification. In fact, you'll be very surprised to know this. When was that? In 2015. After the tsunami struck, Government of India made me the chairman of a committee, national committee, in the disaster resilient specifications for buildings. And I actually got a lot of local materials in the vocabulary. People around, the structural engineers, the professors, we are all up in arms against me. I said, look at this. The only thing is that we upgrade the material. There's several technologies. I'm telling you, several technologies developed by Indian research institutes like SATFOR is a Structural Engineering Research Institute. Chennai, CBRI, Central Building Research Institute in Roorkee. I mean, that's what in making this technology. For instance, the technology which is called, I don't want to go at length because time is limited, non-erodible mud plaster, which actually prevents water from getting to the wall. 80% of Indian households are built by us, and that should give you a lot of confidence. I mean, don't look at the frame, but don't look at templates, don't look at certification person, don't look at platinum certification, don't look at Griha ratings. All you have to do is do meaningful work. I've never taken my buildings for the green certificate. I know they are the best in the country. I mean, it's probably I'm overconfident about it, but my buildings are all green, very sustainable, and it would pass anything. But when you look at Griha ratings and IGBC ratings, I don't even have my clients don't have the money to pay to the organization that get a survey. Who wants this certification? They are staying in pool houses. They are staying in sustainable houses, which is built using whatever little resource, little money, and they're happy about it. End of the day, an architect, this is the company that you need to develop. And I'll go to the next slide. The whole question is about sourcing the material. We have a feeling that you have to source it from some other thing. Demolish some mountains, build. You bring the earth from there. Bangalore sites, and you are from Bangalore. Most of you are from Bangalore. 60-40. We can actually dig up maximum 60 centimeter whole plot. You'll get enough materials to build up the volumes of the wall. When I say that, I mean the septic tank pits, the well, etc., etc. You're going for a bit of cellar, etc., etc. Then you will have a lot of earth. I mean, you will get balance of earth looking. Availability, the engineers will try to scare you by saying that this is not available, this is not right, this thing. But I'm telling you, my dear friends, young friends, that I'm just coming to that later. Please don't go to these engineers. Please feel the materials. Please look at the structural characteristics. And there is an engineering part to everything that you're going to do. If you can understand that engineering part of it, life is going to be very beautiful. And India is going to have many beautiful experiments in earth architecture. Then, this is something which you should understand. The top layer will have a lot of impurities in terms of and soil and things like that. And don't use the organic soil because that's very critical for the sustenance. Very critical all the fertile nutrients in the soil. So don't just think hard rock. No, organic matter. You can see that back layers of soil in this thing. Organic matter you should and replace the topsoil after excavating. This is basically the composition of soil, mud. You have gravel, you have sand, you have silt and clay. Gravel is, small stone pieces, sand, I don't know about that. Silt is something different and clay is something. I mean, Baker, if I still remember, he had a very beautiful metaphor to, to describe about the properties of material. He said, if you actually put it in the mouth and if it's gravel, your teeth will be gone. If it's clay, it will melt like a chocolate. If it's silk, it will catch between the teeth. It's like, eating duff. If it's sand, it will grate between the teeth. I mean, beautiful description of the components. And you have definitely look at the combustion because combustion. These are simple things. I know this is why I went for very basic illustrations to tell you that this thing. I mean, if it's a silty soil, if it's a sandy soil, what do you do? And there are several literature of that. This is combustion of good soil. If you're talking about 10 parts of good soil, 1.5 parts is gravel, 5 parts will be sand. So that is it. That is very important. The sand is a major component for us. This earth is concerned. 1.5 parts of silt and 2 parts of clay. Clay binds, but excess clay will bring the building down. Having said that, let me look at some very basic because in the urban areas, in the metro areas, you may not be able to do the test properly because engineering college, for instance, they will not help you. I'm telling you, touching my heart, they will not help you. The only thing is to find out your own methods to do it, There are many methods. If you smell it, if you get a musty smell, that means organic impurity. If you taste it, if it grates between the teeth, it means that there are a lot of that sort of sand in that. If you feel like eating duff, it means a lot of silt in that. If it grates, if you eat it, it means a lot of gravel in that. I mean, and things are very interesting. It smells like chocolate. It means a lot of clay in that. I mean, you can see it, experience. I mean, it of course needs first time you may be able to find out, but and touching is again, I mean, the best thing is to have a small glass cylinder, to call it, and go for the sedimentation. Because you just take earth from this thing and shake it well with water, keep it, stable, action for some time, and then look at it, and all these things will get into division. Water on the top, play just below that, just below that. You can really see the demarcation very clearly, and that should really show this. For many tests like cigarette tests, ribbon tests, you just roll the cigarette, and the way it breaks down actually really. I mean, I don't want to go into length because this is something that comes from experience, and I'll be on ways to help you out. People talk about earth architecture; they talk only about wall, only about wall. They don't talk about anything else. This beautiful material can be used for foundation, this can be used for walling, this can be used for roofing, this can be used for rendering. You have seen the pictures of New Gurna, which were built by uh, old architect Hassan Fadi, and see all those domes. All those domes were not using mud and not using steel and cement. Instead, they were using mud and rendering the petrol building. And now, I will come to different kinds of walling because you need to know how mud can be used for a building. Co-op construction is when you take mud and you trample it, you make it into football kind of thing, throw it one on top of another. You build up to 2 feet using your trowels, wooden trowels. You make it to this thing, and this is co-op construction, which is actually good for two-story building. Good and this thing. Yeah, the second rammed up prevalent, very popular all over the world. You can see this thing. Rammed earth is prevalent. Australia, UK, American parts of America, Europe. You can see this technology. But the only problem with the rammed earth is that you need some kind of a shuttering. In India, third world country, shuttering is a very expensive material. We don't get shuttering materials. That can be expensive. Sourcing the shuttering material can be expensive. And on top of that, they will charge extra money for doing this. I mean, you want to promote a technology. I'm telling you, this is a beautiful technology because you get fair-faced walls, strong walls, much stronger than the co walls. But the old problem is that unless you develop your own material resources, I mean, like you have your own shuttering material, this may not work. Metal endo is a very common thing, especially in northeastern parts of Asia, South Asia. Where disasters don't kill people. It's here in India and elsewhere that disasters kill people. Disasters don't kill people in northeast, and because wetland absorbs the vibration. A very beautiful system. You have wattle is a kind of mat made out of these reeds, and then you smear mud over that. You smear mud over the interiors, and you get a very beautiful mud wall. And please, journeys, please go to the northeast. You don't get a chance to go to Indonesia, Laos, Cambodia, etc. Please go to northeast, Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, and West. You will get very beautiful expressions of backland of very beautiful. This can be done everywhere. It can be done in Kerala. This can be done in Tamil Nadu. But the problem with this technology is that when you hit this wall, it may wobble. The plastering might come out. And when the plastering comes out, people will get a feeling that, no, this is not strong enough. I need to probably strengthen it more. And that is a huge challenge. And beautiful, architecturally, very, very acceptable to me. I see a guy who looks like a Northeast guy in the crowd, and thank you very much for listening. You can probably contribute to my observation later in the conversation. Adobe is the normal thing which you see on the road. People dried, it's simply dried mud bricks, very common. Let me also make a statement which is very, very clear, and I'm sure it is going to, rake up a lot of discussions about it. The compressive strength, you measure every material by its compressive strength. Compressive strength, Adobe, the least strong building system. Talking about 10 kilograms per centimeter square, which is excuse me for a minute because I just will run to some place and come back in a minute. Please excuse me.
Hello. Hello. Dr. Shankar will be back just in a moment. He was unwell, but he insisted that he will do the webinar because a lot of people have come and they would like to hear him. Karmani, would you like to fill up some details in here?
Yes, ma'am. Participants can actually leave your questions in the chat as Sir is presenting. They will be addressed during the Q&A session once the presentation is finished.
Yeah, and they should keep their.
No, I'm back.
Yeah.
I'm back. I'm back. Sorry for this.
Yeah, thank you.
And the thing is that, I came to this stage in spite of my difficulties, in spite of my family people not really allowed me to come to the platform because I'm sick, but still I made it. So
yeah,
you have the courtesy to kindly pardon me.
Thank you. No problem.
Abscess, yeah. And let me go to the next thing. I mean, this is how cork constructions are made. You actually trample it with your leg. You trample it with, add some additives like lime, etc., which will make it react to some of the properties that you need for the building. And it's beautiful because you can actually build a two-story building with cork construction. The only thing is that you have to leave, the construction will come up very slow because it'll take time. You can build only 2 feet of mud wall, then you'll wait for 2 days for this mud wall to get settled, then go ahead. So that, I mean, it takes time, but why I like this material is because you are feeling the material, you are touching the material, and you're trying to, translate a dream into reality. So that intimate relationship is very critical. That's why probably I'm promoting, a COB as a viable building this thing. Adobe Sunrise Bike, you can actually build single-story building without any reservations. It's strong enough. This is what I told you. I was talking about the compressive strength of the material. Compressive strength of these materials are 10 kilograms centimeters. We always multiply all these, all these divisions by factor of safety. When you multiply the 2, it becomes 30 kilograms. We don't need. It's a feel. I mean, you have seen most of the buildings that you see in concrete buildings, concrete with concrete roofs, they are actually made of Adobe or something. The only thing is that you have to have belief in the technology. This is what Ramdas, I told you about. Ramdas is very beautiful for an architect. The texture, the feel that you get, and dimensionally very stable, very important. You may not get that kind of a perfection, but in Ramdas you get that kind of perfection. Very good and very beautiful to look at. And though our friends in the crowd will definitely tell you, look at the bottom side where this is the wattle, then you smear mud over that, and finally you get a material, a building like that, very, very safe. This is what, I mean, we are talking about every year the whole area gets inundated, whole area gets flood affected, and each time people, complain, the government gives them some kind of solutions. Next year also water comes in, and this is so people, traditional knowledge, folklore knowledge have given them very many technologies that actually resist impact of earthquake. When I was in Gujarat, when Gujarat was hit by earthquakes, and Anja, I was there, and the center of the hub, center of the disaster in the, Puj, there was some tribal happens, bungas, you call it, bungas, the round ones, they stood the impact. So understand the dynamics. Our engineers, our architects don't look at it. Instead, every disaster is an opportunity for the contractors. I'm telling you, for the engineers to put in more steel, more cement. Let me also make a statement. If engineers are there in the crowd, over reinforcement is brutal. The collapse can happen very suddenly. If a slab is over reinforced, if it's under reinforced, I'm telling him you get plenty of time, probably a year before it really caves in. The slab will start sagging. It gets into like this, and finally it will take more than a year for the slab to collapse. But if it's over reinforced, I actually made a statement. It's kind of brutal. One moment, whole thing can break. It can collapse. The whole thing can collapse on you. It's more dangerous. People don't realize it and still talk about this thing. And this is the thing, which probably is a interesting self-help method. And this, I think, is the way forward. I mean, because, for the years, last 15, 20 years, I've been insisting on stabilization. Very easy. Technology is very easy. The stabilizers, I'll show you some ways. One thing is, it's an interesting self-help method. People can build it themselves. You don't have to, look at external resources. We can, if you have a small machine, a lot of people make it, including Bangalore people, Astra, and so they make these machines. And I mean, you develop a team of workers, you'll have plenty of time. I know how who was the Bangarappa, who was the chief minister of those days, the buildings, housing board flats, if I'm not mistaken, were taken off, were demolished. Those were, done with hardcore assistance. They were demolished during Bangarappa times, and the technology actually got a very bad name in Bangalore. In Kerala, luckily, nothing has happened, and we are still sustaining this because the government has accepted it. We have a very proactive, pro-people stand in professional technologies, and we are extremely lucky to get that. Good resistant rain, labor-intensive, and suitable for our climate. Then, there's this process coming. You have to look at the mud, you have to taste mud, you have to test mud, you have to stabilize mud, you have to look at, this is engineering, pure engineering. You have to look at water ratio, compression mud into blocks, and curing, and then, you get on to the falling work. What are the functions of the stabilizer? It binds the material, it binds the soil so that it remains stable. It becomes waterproof, very important. Once you compress it to that level, waterproof, otherwise water can seep into the building, and that the technology, buildings can get bad. And it's about shrinking and filling by using very simple rural stabilize, like cutting straw, and adding it to the mud. This thing can actually prevent fibers. Adding fibers prevents. And obviously, you and me share the same concerns of dampness and termites. We have very low. Kerala, what we do is against termites. Termites is a big problem. There's a question that every client is going to ask you. Termites, I add a bit of lime into the mix. Beautifully termite resistant building. On top of that, we always have this damp-proof course coming at it. Flintweed for the number of course when you look at that. Right? So, I mean, using these kind of thing, and more than that, let me tell you, the traditional wisdom of our architects address these issues in a very, very clear way. If you look at those buildings built with mud, olden days, not tropical arid architecture like those buildings had large overhangs. Which really prevented water from hitting this thing and making it shift. So these are things which obviously need to be answered. Most of the architects I have worked with, somewhere, sometime in my journey, I have worked with some architects who don't give chaddas, who don't protect the windows, and they have a huge problem. People belong to Ahmedabad, people belong to arid places, Delhi. They don't understand the importance of chaddas and sunsheet. I realize that chaddas are not a very beautiful architectural feature, but you can't avoid it. If you can't avoid it, do it. I mean, well, flaunt it. You use it the way you want to do. That is architecture. You cannot jump the circle. You have to ensure that building is waterproof. No dampness comes in, no leakage comes in, and the several technologies. This is just showing you a way. I know this presentation will not give you any of this thing. And look at what is it for an architect to look at. To me, the colors is intoxicating. The texture template was material. You can use it, different ways. Texture, smooth texture, partially rough, partially everything, very rough texture, and versatile material is incomparable. Beautiful. So let me tell you the plasticity and versatility of material. These are unfortunately I didn't get correct pictures for this presentation. These are square box type this thing, but even then, probably it belongs to some places like Ahmedabad, a place like that. They are not given any protection for the work, but you need to give it. The plasticity and versatility of the material is something that I'll show you my own building a little later, and that should settle your apprehensions. Sustainability concerns, I don't have to talk about that. It talks about labor intensity, because we need a lot of people to work in this. We need to address poverty. We need to address the availability part of it, locally available. insulating. Let me tell you this, why I use a lot of earth for my buildings is because it's insulating. It's very cool. I don't have to put fans. If you can see my place where I'm place right inside my, you don't see the fan. I don't have fans here. And, it's cool inside. It's only 4:30 in the evening. It's cool inside. That's why I have fans. I mean, this is something that you need to really look at, talk about. And traditional legacy immense. I'm just showing you a way. You have to explore, you have to find out, you have to discover. And that, I think, Manju, that is the whole purpose of this particular. Now, this, I'm just going to the gallery part of it because I think it's past 4:45 now. Yeah, it's almost 4:45. I need at least 15 minutes to talk to the children. This is the first building, I built in 1980. Just out of the college, I built this smart building for an IAS officer, It has got a very interesting story because this was the first contemporary expression of modern architecture in Kerala. She was a good friend of mine. She was a young collector in one of the districts. And she said, if ever I build a house, I will use your expertise. I need this material because I need breathing walls, I need insulation, I need local material. She was very focused on references and she gave the money and some building. It came to the Linda level. You can see that convention, it came to the Linda level. One day, midnight, she calls me. I go to my sleep very early, 9:30, I am sleeping. So he calls me and tells me that, Shankar, you need to come to my place now because if you don't come tomorrow, I may not be there. Just look at the pressure on me. 12 o'clock in the night, I was already sleeping. And she tells me on telephone that I need to go there to their rented place and I need to address her. Otherwise, she said she may not be there, very precious to me too. The lady is still very precious to me. So in those days, I didn't have proper vehicles and things like this. I had a vehicle, went to this place. I didn't know the house, but this was the only house where lights were on in a particular junction. So I went in. The man and the woman and the little child, a 2 year child, they were all awake. They were sitting like islands in different corners of this thing. I went in and what is happening? I was just wondering what's happening. Madam, you tell me what is happening. Man was very angry with me. The child was looking at the news. And then the man said, you demolish this building. You just come to Linda level, you demolish the building, just leave the foundation. And I said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm in a position, if something happens in the building, I will build a new house using the technology that you are going to suggest. I'm not going to demolish the building. I put a very stringent condition. I couldn't move forward. I said, I'm very clear about the strength of the material. And we quoted the conversation. Then finally he came out with the answer. What was the answer? There was a army person staying next door, a Sipai, those days. Came after a short service. And that day morning, when this guy who, the master of the house, went to the site with the kid, he made a statement that, look, doctor, I'm going to move out of the house. Why do you want to move out? Because one fine morning, I don't want to pick up dead bodies. Look at the way they are building. It's all mud and no strength. If a good rain comes, the whole thing will get melted away. And the next door, that hit him very badly. Precious child, that hit him very badly. And by evening, it went into a huge problem. Night, that's why I told them, look, doctor and the IAS lady, look, you don't have to come there. I will build this building. I will finish it. And you come to my place. And if you find some difficulties, some apprehensive, then I will sort it out and things like that. Finally, she could win her way. I finished this building, and this became a hallmark in the history of Kerala. The first two-story mud structure. I'm not talking about the legacy of architecture. Obviously, there were hundreds of buildings built before, but probably after 1900, 1920, this was the first building. Now, that was first building, and this is the latest. Can you believe it? I mean, a multi-story building, all the envelope building. This is obviously a frame structure. Slightly diluted in many ways, but I thought this is an opportunity, 12, 13-story building, exposed, mud block, I'm sure the water is going to hit through and nothing is going to happen. But this was a huge opportunity. The Water Authority, people were kind enough to give me this opportunity. I built it. It's still standing good. It's almost 7 years. This is the latest ever. And this is the largest earth building in the world, which I built in 1990. About 600,000 square feet. It's a huge complex. I'm sure you are looking at this picture and wondering how this plaster, this pale yellow. My dear friends out there, including Manchu, this is the color of the earth in Brahmaputra plain. You get pale yellow clay there. And this is made of pale yellow clay, load-bearing material. And this talks about a strength of 1,000 square feet. And this remains the largest. Let me make that statement again. This remains the largest building in the contemporary times. It's still standing there. And that's the interesting story behind it. Bangladesh is rife with political rifts and turmoils. This was the only place during the inauguration. Mohammad Yunus, who won Nobel Prize for economics for the first time in part of the country, this part of the continent, he was there. Mohammad Yunus was there. And Sheikh Hasina, Mujib's daughter, she was the prime minister at that time. And Ziaur Rahman's wife came. There were three diverging personalities came to it was first time in the history of Bangladesh. This I don't have to do that. This is my own building, my own residence. I never thought that I would build a house. And finally, 5 years back, I built this house. I didn't really want a house because I'm very comfortable in small rented places which are nothing. But there's a lot of peer pressure. I wanted to develop a forest. That I started doing it 18 years, and nearly 5 years back, I built this building. And as you can see, the roof is all mud. It is waterproof, no cement, no steel. It's won the National Award for Green Architecture. The last 4 years, I've been continuously winning prizes for National Award for Green Architecture. The interiors of building. This is one place. You have a bookshelf behind this, and you can see the tiled. This little portion of the building, 30% of the building is all concrete using bamboo and things like that, and rejected tiles. You can see the perforations, that quality of tiles that you use. It's my building, my kingdom, and I'm very, very happy for the courtyard there. What I want to tell you is that look at the texture of the material. This is beautiful. I am enjoying every minute of this thing, and this is how I believe. I have a huge collection of books, and I kept it open. This is how you should develop architecture. Unless you take if you have a 40 centimeter wide bookshelf, you're not going to. It will go behind the glass. You will have the clients will tell you that it will be dust and things like that. We buy books to read them. We buy books to. So if you want to see that, you have to feel. I smell the it is a slightly different experience that I'm talking about. When I say that, I feel extremely happy. I will explain. I've made a little space for what is the name. You can Google and find out. This is one building that I did for the Director General of the National Institute of Rural Development in Hyderabad. That won the best green building national award in 2018, 2019 for DGP, the head of the police in Kerala. He built this. We actually built a huge complex, housing complex with DGPs and ADGPs and things like that. This also won the award for green architecture. And this is the last award that I won in 2020. It's a small residence, but you can look at the change in vocabulary, changing, and what I did is to flaunt materials and completely different vocabulary. I believe that these buildings are looking, and these buildings should pose questions. This is what I was telling you in the beginning, that unless these buildings continue to question you about your conviction, attitude, then it's going to. And this is my office. It's a 6-story building, no columns, no this thing. It's a 6-story building because concrete slabs are there, but you can see the building. It was built as early as 2001, 21 years now, different levels. Organic architecture, I call it. So the front you get only 2 floors, but as you get in, this is what I tell my client. But let's not expose let's not make it into statement. Let us try the magic inside. When they come into the building, they will think that it's my residence. It's a small building, no expression. 10 meters is the width of the floor. Imagine. Nothing to flower. Building rules are there. And I don't have boards outside. But when they come, the moment they get into the room, wow, there's space inside. And no lights. I know this thing. It's something which is, you have to come, my dear friends. I know it's COVID time, sometime in future. Please do come. And my conviction, because my buildings actually reflect my love for you, my affection. And when I talk about resource efficiency, I have national. It's for people like you who have to conserve. You have to retain the precious resources that we have. We'll probably end with that particular thing. These are some of the interiors of my own office building. This is what office buildings made in 2001 can also look beautiful. And look at the. I mean, it's not like modular furniture. I know you have modular furniture in some of your studios. We don't have that. We have very simple chairs and this thing. No cushions on the floor, on the tables. Very basic module they have. Yeah, but they have plenty of light. They have plenty of coolness, and plenty of peace, plenty of perfection. This is what is my number. I'll wind up here. Please, someone treat the earth well. It is not given to you by your parents. Believe that. Treat the earth well. It was not given to you by your parents. It was loaned to you by your children. We do not inherit the earth from our ancestors. We borrow it from the children. Have that concern. Deeply encourage. And it's going to be a lovely journey ahead. Challenges? Yes. People like me have started this thing. It was Pablo Picasso who said, whenever you try to walk first, you will get all the thoughts, all the big stones on the floor, and your feet will start getting bleeding. It will bruise you. It will hurt you. People who are coming behind are people who are lucky enough because they don't have to face this thing. I'm a follower. Dory Baker walked in first. People like Nariganti, the rest of them walked in first. The architects like Fati walked way long back. For me, the journey had been much more easy. But it's difficult, my dear. It's difficult. I have broken my arms, they have broken my legs for sustaining you, hanging to sustainability concerns. And you may have to go through a lot of processes. They will be criticized. You may not be there in committees, national committees. You may not be there part of the bureaucracy. You may not be a faculty member. Who cares? Who cares? As long as people are with you, if people believe you, then you are talking about a domain. And that is we call it in Malayalam Swargarajyam. That's the paradise where I'm inviting you in. You're very young, hardly into 20s. Some of you faculty members are there. Let me invite you. A wonderful, wonderful journey. Those words, I'm just winding up. Thank you very much for the attention. I feel very privileged, Manju, for giving me another opportunity to the children. And I'm sorry, I couldn't. I mean, I would have gone in for probably another 20 minutes, but I'm not well. I am just finding it. It's choking. And temperature is gone up to 105 degrees. So I need to see the doctor. Probably I'll take one of the questions and I'll wind up with that. Thank you very much, Manju, for the opportunity. And thank you very much for all the kind listeners who didn't leave the platform. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir, for presenting your splendid work to us despite being unwell. Do we take a few questions, maybe a couple of them?
Aishwarya.
Aishu.
You can stop share, sir. On the top, you have an option where the green bar is there.
But I didn't get the question right.
Yeah.
I'll move on.
Stop share. Yeah. You can go on with the questions, sir.
So Dr. G. Raghava has some interesting questions here. He asks, are soils in all neighborhoods fit for use in construction?
Sorry, I will go off the video now. Where's the chat box? I'm not finding the chat box here. They're not helping me either. Sorry, I didn't get the question right.
So Dr. G. Raghava is asking you, sir. He's asking, are soils in all our neighborhoods fit for use in construction?
Manju, I got a little problem with the hearing. So I have found some questions in the chat box.
Chat
Can I
box,
answer
okay.
one of them? Do you recommend a protective? Of course, I do recommend a protective coat over the mud layers if it's multi-story building, two-story, etc., so that it gets protected. You can't allow water to seep over the surface, and that is why it's very important that you have a protective layer. Actually, this protective layer has been developed by, I told you, Central Building Research Institute, and it's called non-erodible mud plaster, which has got a lot of components, including bitumen, cut back bitumen, a bit of cement, a bit of sand, and that's how they make this. It is there on the website, non-erodible mud plaster. The second question is for longer spans and multi-story buildings. What are the supportive members? You need to see. I went for the mud structures, but there's an engineering part to all these things. The longer the span, the wider the span, you need to go for probably concrete members in many ways. You can use it as a cut-and material. See, this is how I want this technology to be taken forward. There's an engineering part. But let me tell you, as an architect, you can come up with several solutions to shorten the span, having some kind of a structural element. Even for 3-story, 4-story, 5-story building, which you just saw, which I made it in Bangladesh, no beams, no columns. But it is integrated into a kind of a labyrinth where there are supporting members, which actually goes for this thing. And this is exactly, it needs more contemplation on this. And thank you very much for the question. Dr. D. Raghava, are soils in neighborhoods for use in construction? No, I mean, not all neighborhoods. It's very critical. You need to select your soil, like you select your partner. You need to select them. You need to select them because you need to know the versatile combination of gravel, silt, and clay. And you need to look at that. But adding some ingredients, more, having a little bit clay more, a little bit sand more, probably you'll get kind of sand that can be. Yeah, that is something kind of. Abhi, thank you very much. Awesome spark. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Abhi. I don't know whether you're a young kid. Thank you very much for the glorious compliments that makes me tick again. Thank you very much. And are these buildings theft-proof? My dear friends, it's a very interesting question. This is the normal notion that you have. The buildings are very weak, and anybody can come in, break the wall and come in. I'm telling you, it's easier to come a multi-story building because you're talking about curtain wall. If you can drive through, if you can break the mud wall is more difficult to break. The concrete block walls, brick walls, how you build, except the concrete walls that have been can be broken very easily. So this notion you have to overcome. Let me also tell you that whom are we addressing? We have to take a side on this. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm off tracking, but I should tell that because this is my viewpoint on the whole technology part of it. I told you the technology will have to be foolproof. It has to be good. It has to be durable. It has to be long-lasting. But there is always a why. I answered that question. Why mud should be used because of insulation, cost efficiency, sensitivity, and things like that. But for whom are you going to build? There are many people who dream about a house who don't have the kind of the question. I don't know from whom it came. Probably from Abhi. You're not looking at them. There are many of them. 50 million, probably 70 million families who have nothing over their head. They don't have decent shelters. They don't have roof over their children. They also want to go in for online, education. Things like that. They don't have space for that. I'm working with communities, so every day is a kind of. It brings in a lot of pain to me. Pain to me because all along my life, I've been working with people who don't have means, who are poor, who don't have the means to architects, and that has given me an amazing journey. I will come to that later. Manju, sometime give me a chance to explain about the nuances of the journey, which probably should give some kind of confidence to these people. Thank you, Manju. Thank you for the wonderful session, and allow me to go now.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you so much. It was also inspirational. And we are very happy that, in spite of your ill health, you are able to, you have actually been able to inspire all the people, and you came here. And thank you so much. Please take care of yourself. Please take care. And thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Take care.
So Kanmani, maybe I think we have several questions right now. I will try to answer. If you can try to go one by one, I will try to answer the questions.
I can go over the questions.
Yeah, because yeah.
So Smita has a question here. She says she's planning to build a farmhouse in Gulbarga, and they have black cotton soil there. So she's asking if earth bags can be used, or if you have any advice regarding how she can go ahead building with black cotton soil in Gulbarga.
Okay, so there, see the black cotton soil generally, if I'm not mistaken, it is not till the lot of depth below the earth. So I think we'll have to find out whether the black cotton soil is even below 2 feet or 3 feet. We have black cotton soil. If so, then probably that cotton soil cannot be, like, it's a clay soil, so it's difficult to do. But I think we can, again, as I said, we can direct this question to Dr. Shankar, and we can actually do. But we have done some constructions with some modifications. We have tried to do even in black cotton soil, because below 2 feet, it's not as clayey as it is on the top surface. Generally, we have tried to do that, but you can always go for that earth bag construction. I don't think it should be a problem. Yeah.
I hope that answered your question, Smita. Thank you. Abhi has a question here. If it is so easy to use mud, and if it is practical, then why is engineering data not available to us?
Yeah, that's a very good question to say. I will tell you, and the same thing actually happens with bamboo. So we keep on asking this. People keep asking these questions because there's nobody advocating or selling mud. That is one thing. In fact, in mud, there's a lot of work that has been done, but people, as he was telling just now, they have that kind of a, they don't have that kind of a confidence in that. And even engineers, so I think more and more people need to start doing it. Even bamboo, we have the same problem. People don't want to take it up. In fact, I also, when I did my house in mud, and even my parents told, oh, you're doing it in mud, but you also have to look at your grandparents' houses, which are more than 100, 200 years old. And if you, I do not know how many people are aware, that concrete buildings, the life of the building is only from 40 to 70 years. That's it. Whereas, buildings with mud will last you centuries once it is done well and it is taken care. And there is a problem about acceptability. Thanks to all the Westerners who have come here, and they have really put this thing that all these local building materials which are there, that is not good to construct with, and they are like low cost, or so they are low quality. Low cost does not mean low quality. Low cost means cost effective, and that definition also needs to change. And one more problem which is there is in our policy, which actually gives the definition of kacha house as houses built with mud and bamboo and thatch. That definition needs to be changed, because these houses also last quite a lot. And the day the definition is changed, I think a lot of things would change. So this is something which is like on the policy level, at a different level, at advocacy level, needs to be taken up. And I'm very happy that people, young people, are asking these questions. In fact, morning also we had a session. In fact, CCBMT has held one session in the morning today with 50 heads of engineering colleges, civil engineering and other engineering colleges. We had a meeting today morning to introduce all the sustainable technologies in the curriculum, in the BIS codes, and in the schedule of rates. 50 school, heads of schools from various colleges across the country, they participated. And we had the president of All India consulting civil engineers president who actually chaired the meeting with me. So there are things happening, and we're just hoping that things will be better in the future.
Thank you, ma'am, for that answer. Thanks, Abhi, for the questions. Thanks for all your enthusiasm. There's another interesting question that Sakshita has asked. Will mud architecture be suitable in cold climate?
Yes, what is that?
She's asking, will mud architecture be suitable in cold climates?
Mud has actually got a thermal lag. It gives you a thermal insulation. Any natural material for that matter. And since the mud buildings really have that kind of a mass, they can provide a lot of thermal insulation. And it was done. I think there's a lot of these kind of buildings which are done across the world. I mean, if you start looking at it, you have all over the world, there are different kinds of things. But extreme Europe or something like that kind of a climate, it is not there. But other than that, mild cold and all this has been done. And this is like, it's a proven thing. So it is there.
Smita has another question. Can bamboo be used as a shuttering material with rammed earth?
Yeah, it can be. We have used it. Yeah. We had a lot of questions, Kanmani, which had come with the registrations.
Okay.
Do you want me to?
Yes, if you can share it, I can.
Yeah, I mean, it is there on the screen, so maybe then I have it on my screen, so maybe I'll go to them one minute. I'll share my screen, and then you can just.
Sure.
We can just go one by one. Here we had, can mud architecture be done in hill stations and cold climates? Definitely. I just forgot. DD Contractor, she has been doing it in the cold climate, and very recently all of this was in the news, as you know, and she has been building with mud exclusively, mud, bamboo, and the local timber. Okay, and can mud be used as a high rise? I think you already saw that, so that is there. How to build mud homes in the city? I think Chitra Vishwanath Architect, she has done a lot of work. She has really popularized it, and and there are a lot of other engineers. Dr. Yogananda, who has been my consultant and guide in this case, and Miranamai, and there is Gram Vidya in Bangalore, which has been conducting a lot of courses, and especially Chitra, she has really done a lot of work in construction with mud in the cities, in the urban areas. And again, then Kavita, also your question is also, I think, is the same. Challenges in building with mud, I think Dr. Shankar already covered it. And the possible solution is only one, that you get your hands dirty and you start the work. Do you have any portable unit to manufacture? Yes, I think Dr. Shankar was telling, if you have to have mud bricks, so they are, one is a small mold with which you make these bricks, and they are sun-dried bricks. The other one is the press, and the press is like you can actually take it from one place to one side to another and do it there. There are most of these contractors who are into this construction. They have this portable thing, and they bring it to your site. If it's a big site, they bring it there, and they make the bricks from your soil then and there, and they can give it to you. I think you also can get them on hire. Okay, are there any natural building communities or companies in Dubai? This is a very interesting question. I will tell you, I have been there in Dubai, and there's a palace building which has been preserved in the middle of Dubai. It's completely made of mud and with stone. I mean, I was also quite surprised to see that, and it has got bamboo, it has got local, this thing, and it has got mud, this thing. Please go and have a look at it. So that has been completely wiped out by the real estate people, the lobby, and saying that this is absolutely not possible. But these areas, especially all that belt that is there, starting from Morocco to the Arab countries everywhere, mud was a very big, it was a very important building material actually. Okay, graph of strength of mud versus time. This I think we can take it up separately, sir. Raghav, sir. Strength of mud depends on the moisture content in the mud. These are, I think, are very pointed questions, and I think Dr. Yogananda probably more than and even Dr. Shankar, they should be able to answer, and I will send it to them. Can it be any type of mud or certain specifications? Mud, as Dr. Shankar showed, there are different kinds of mud, and so the modification that we do to mud to make it into a stabilized thing, what we call as a stabilizer, that quantity varies. For that, you have to get your mud tested. You have to take the mud, as Dr. Shankar was showing, below 2 feet of the strata. You take mud and you need to take out 20 kgs of mud, and that you can send it to a lab. In Bangalore, we have Mridamai, which is Dr. Yogananda's lab. We send it there. As a matter of fact, for Nalanda University construction, the Vastu Shilpa Foundation, Doshi sir's people, they also had sent to Bangalore for testing the mud there, because they're using mud for their mud bricks there. And they do this testing, and based on the testing, they give you the composition which is required to achieve a certain strength. And we have been working with that actually with them. At site construction be commenced? Yes, it can be. Eco-friendly sheltering material, practicing replacement for cement. A lot of mudcrete houses. Mudcrete also now is becoming a very popular material, and a lot of architects and engineers are working on it. You might find a lot of paper on mudcrete actually, and mud roofs even in our country. I have seen myself in Amritsar, in Himachal Pradesh, there are roofs with mud actually in there, bamboo and mud, and timber and mud. I have seen them there. Some key points for the beginners. I think it would be good to connect to go through some webinars, and if possible, go for practical workshops. They are best for you to start with, I think. And there's a lot of material available on the net. Go through them, and then you can and go to authentic ones. You can where you actually find good information. Indian Institute of Science has done a lot of work. Astra has done a lot of work on stabilized mud blocks. In fact, they have been doing it from pre-independence time. So it's more than 60-70 years. They have been working. Material and still achieve fluid designs. Yes, I think there is a kind of limit. I would also like to tell one more thing here. Don't use mud as concrete, because concrete also cannot be used as mud. Every material has its own properties. Respect it, and with that respect, work on the material. And if you do that, you definitely will come up with very good path-breaking designs. Concrete is such a widely used building material these days. Is there a possible local and system like mud and stone to be used even in commercial and large-scale buildings? Definitely, it is possible. You may, because right now, since they are, once upon a time, less than 100 years ago, what was the material of construction actually? Mud, stone, bamboo. I mean, how old is concrete right now? And we are thinking that and human civilization has been there for millions of years. We have been building for thousands of years. And why are we really thinking we are simply forgetting this fact that other material has been around for a really long time? Unlike concrete. I will also tell you, so it's more like reinventing the things. So we already have these. So once you start using, you will know, and it actually can work. How can we ensure that looked at differently, both socially and by regulatory bodies in terms of sustainability? Yeah, I think we all have to do very innovative designs. As I said, respecting the properties of the material, and that will definitely eventually, as you saw, sir was showing, Dr. Shankar was showing, and if you go to the net and you just Google on buildings with mud, there are extraordinary buildings coming up all across the world with mud now. You have even 3D printing, 3D printed buildings being made of mud. It is being done. So what I'm trying to say that mud also can lend itself to the modern methods and technologies, you have to be willing to do it. And that's where everything comes up. I mean, that's what everything boils down to. And innovations in building tectonics with mud in natural disaster prone areas, especially in excessive rain. I think Dr. Shankar just told you that, in Bhuj earthquake, where everything fell, which was made from concrete and steel. The Bunga, shelters, which are made of mud and bamboo and local wood. Those were the ones who actually remained there. And these buildings, they generally don't collapse. And they're also more serviceable. Like after the earthquake is gone, you can actually again replaster and do things, and it will again be in service for a much longer time. And of course, in excessive rain and flood areas, you are supposed to raise your plinth, and that's a very simple thing to do and a common sense thing to do. If you take care of all the things, as Dr. Shankar was telling, have large eaves, for the rainy these things, and then you can definitely, it can go up. And how can we, and this I think we have already answered, mud plastering over stone and brick walls. I think there's a lot of data available on this. And we have even Varun Totham is also, I think there are many people who are doing a lot of workshops on mud plastering and other things. So you can definitely pick up one of them, and this will really help you. Why government is not addressing sustainable issue? Why do you already want the government to do it? You start yourself, as Dr. Shankar was telling. It is not the government which is going to solve climate change and climate crisis. It is the common man like you and me who will actually do it collectively. And our collective effort is what is going to have the transformational change that we need to see in our society to take things forward. Right? How mud can be used in superstructure works like plaster? I think he has already answered. And we even flooring, we have done modified mud floorings, and they work very well. If you are able to do some kind of a oil kind of a thing on that, it becomes like a very good, flooring. And plastering, there are a lot of mud plasters. I think they are there. So that is another thing. So this was it. Anything else? If anybody wants, I would be still happy to. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to take it up. I'll stop share. Yeah. Sabani, are there any questions in the chat box?
No, we are done with questions from you.
Okay.
Dr. Raghava has added one piece of information about he says, I have personally seen mud houses in Ladakh built by NGOs.
Yeah, Ladakh also. Yes, you're right. This Sonam Wangchuk, he's not an architect, he's an engineer, and he has done commendable work. He has learned how to explore how the ancient mud, and in the cold season, Leh. We know how freezing it is in Leh, and there was a difference of, I think, more than 20 degrees or 21 degrees from outside to inside in a mud building. And it has been achieved actually. Yeah.
Madam, I have personally seen that.
Yeah. Okay, great, Dr. Raghav. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for joining also. Yeah. Anything else by anybody?
Priya Gupta has a question here. There is some oil they use on the mud flooring to protect it from water spillage. Can you help me with that?
Actually, I have not used the oil so far, but I think as we do it in our oxide flooring, we use generally wax and coconut oil. Dr. Raghav, do you have anything to add to that in case you know anything about it?
No, I didn't. Can you please repeat, Kanmani?
There is some oil that they use on the mud flooring to protect it instead of wax, she's saying. Can you help me with that? I think she's asking about what kind of oil and what composition we can use over the mud flooring to protect it.
You know, Dr. Shankar already mentioned about the protective layer, which has been sort of certified by CBRI also based on testing. That would be better rather than a waxy or oily layer, especially when you are talking of flooring.
Yeah.
You don't need a greasy layer. You should not have.
No, Dr. Raghu, it doesn't go greasy like we do in our IPS flooring, no, red cement oxide flooring. So after doing the flooring, we generally, because it's rough, we generally do this once in a year or something like that. So it actually does not develop any, the film is developed over it, and it becomes a protective layer for it, so that nothing, whatever falls or something like that, doesn't pigment it, or it does not do anything to the floor. For that we do it, and that we can do in modified mud flooring. When we stabilize the mud of the flooring, not just plain mud but modified mud, then we have been that modified flooring I have done with that wax. That much I have done. That is my. But we can always forward the question to Dr. Shankar if he can.
Yeah, I got what you are telling, Architect Manjunath. Yeah, I got what you are telling.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else? Okay, so I think we will wrap the session in that case. So this session has been, this session is actually co-hosted by Dalbagh Education Institute Faculty of Architecture. And I'm really thankful to Dr. Kalra, the Director, the DEI, and the department head, Architect Molly Caprihan, and Architect Piyush Prakash for co-hosting the session with us. I also thank all of you participants for actively participating in the webinar with extreme enthusiasm. I also especially thank Dr. G. Raghav, I can see Architect Sunil Joshi. I saw him in the session, and all the dignitaries who have joined the session to really spend their time. I saw Anita Dharumpal, ma'am also, she also has joined, and all of you to take the things forward. I leave you with this thought to ponder on: what would you now do with all the things, when the COVID thing has happened? If you are going to build your buildings, what materials are you going to use? What materials would you prefer to do? I think as Dr. Shankar said, these buildings are much more healthier. Cement buildings can give you asthma, air pollution, and these were some of the main reasons for this COVID thing, to enhance COVID thing, because air pollution was one of the infection through air was one of the things which was actually also making COVID situation really bad. And our, mud, bamboo, all the natural building materials, they don't emit toxic, fumes and things like that. So what would you build with if tomorrow now you have to, would you, with all the knowledge that we are trying to spread, would you like to use these building materials in your own house? There will be problems, as I think Dr. Shankar mentioned about the IAS officer lady. I also told you that my family also tried to tell me that, why you should be doing this. But it's all a matter of thing, because they are concerned about us, but we have to convince the people, and that's the way forward. And if we should not just give in as to these kind of challenges, because these will always be there. As Dr. Shankar was telling, if you are a pioneer, you are moving ahead, you will get blisters, you will get all that. But then the people behind you, the next generation, will actually be able to take advantage of that thing. CGBMT has been conducting these simple talks, and you all have been participating. It's a really great thing to be speaking to all of you and interacting with all of you, and we thank you all. I would like you to spread the word about it, and if possible, CGBMT actually is a non-profit organization, and if you can support, on our website you would find a link to support us. If you can support us, that will be really great, so that we can keep taking our work forward with for a very long time. Thank you so much. Stay safe, stay healthy, and have a great weekend. Thank you all. Thank you so much, Kanmani, for coming up on the session. And we are also, I just ended the session, but we are Kanmani is actually developing a course content with us, along with us, on mud construction, where we will have 2 online courses of 20 hours each, which will be followed by practical sessions. And we'll be coming up with that very soon for you. So thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am, for that introduction. And I thank all participants for their enthusiasm and for great participation and the commitment to simple living as well. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Raghav. Thank you.